Welcome back to Science Exposed, where we take deep dives into, well, the most fascinating corners of science.
All curated by Dr. Cameron Jones, of course.
Of course. And
That's
today,
right.
get ready to have your mind blown, by the way, because we're talking about the microbiome.
Hmm.
That invisible world of microorganisms living all around and even inside us.
Uh,
But there's a twist.
there is.
Are you ready for this?
I don't know, have I?
Okay, well, new research is showing that this microbiome can actually act as like a sort of GPS,
Yeah.
revealing where we've been.
It's true. The microbiome is way more than just like a collection of germs.
Yeah.
It's this complex ecosystem
Yeah.
that's constantly interacting with our surroundings, picking up and leaving behind these microbial traces.
Okay, so let's unpack this whole microbiome GPS idea.
Yeah.
How does it actually work? I mean, we're talking about tiny, invisible organisms, right?
Exactly. It all comes down to the fact that the types and amounts of microorganisms in your microbiome, they vary depending on your location. Think about it. Every environment, from your home to the park to the subway you ride, it all has its own unique microbial signature.
So as we move through these different environments, we pick up these unique microbial hitchhikers.
Precisely. It's kind of like leaving a trail of breadcrumbs.
Mm-hmm.
But instead of breadcrumbs, it's, bacteria, fungi, and viruses.
Right.
And these microbial traces, they can be surprisingly informative.
So just like our DNA can reveal our ancestry,
Yeah,
our microbiome can reveal our recent whereabouts.
that's right.
That's incredible. But does that mean, like, every single microbe in our microbiome acts as a clue?
Not quite. Researchers at Lund University, they had to sift through thousands of species to identify the ones that are most geographically informative.
Thousands.
Thousands, yeah. And they call these geographically informative taxa, or GITs.
Okay, GITs, got it. But how do we even know these GITs are reliable for, pinpointing location? It seems like a pretty big leap to go from finding these microbes to actually using them as a GPS.
That's where the Metasub dataset comes in. It's this massive global collection of over 4,000 urban microbiome samples from 40 different cities.
Whoa.
And here's the really clever part. These samples, they were all collected from mass transit systems.
So we're talking about subway poles, seats, ticket kiosks.
All those surfaces that tons of people touch every day.
Talk about a microbial melting pot.
Right.
But did this microbiome GPS actually work when they tested it against this massive data set?
The results were impressive. By analyzing the GITs in the samples, they could correctly predict the city of origin for a whopping 92% of them. And in some cases, they could even pinpoint the specific subway station the sample came from.
Wow, 92%. That's some seriously impressive accuracy. I bet the environment plays a huge role in shaping these distinct microbial signatures, right? Think about how different, like, a bustling city subway station is from, say, a rural farm.
You're absolutely right. The researchers, they actually compared the results from the Hong Kong and London subway systems, and the differences were, well, fascinating.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. I've heard those Hong Kong subways are incredibly clean.
They are. Hong Kong is known for its meticulous cleaning protocols, and this was actually reflected in their microbiome data. Each station had a remarkably distinct microbiome, almost like a microbial fingerprint.
So a cleaner environment leads to, like, more defined microbial communities. What about London?
Well, London's subway system, let's just say it's a bit more lived in.
You're being diplomatic?
Let's just say their findings in London were a bit more mixed. The microbiome signatures weren't as clear-cut, which, well, it kind of highlights how factors like human contact and cleaning practices can influence the microbial landscape.
So basically, more human contact, less frequent cleaning, and you just end up with a muddier microbiome map.
Pretty much.
Fascinating. But I'm curious, does this microbiome GPS work beyond the urban jungle? Like, could it be used to track movements in other environments too?
That's a great question, and the answer is yes. They tested it with soil samples from different countries and even water samples from various oceanic regions, and it worked. They could accurately predict the country of origin for the soil samples and even distinguish between different oceanic areas based on, well, based on the microbiome data.
So we're potentially talking about a tool that could be used everywhere from crime scenes to like tracking the spread of diseases.
Yeah, exactly.
The implications are huge.
And it gets even more interesting. One of the most exciting applications of this technology is, well, tracking the movement of antimicrobial resistance genes, or, AMR genes for short.
Okay, AMR tracking, that sounds crucial. But first, for our listeners who might not be familiar, can you explain what AMR genes are and why they're such a concern?
Absolutely. Antimicrobial resistance is a major global health threat. Essentially, these AMR genes allow bacteria to resist the effects of antibiotics, which, well, it makes infections much harder to treat. And the scary part is that these drug-resistant bacteria, they can spread from person to person and even from animals to humans.
So by tracking these AMR genes, we can get a better understanding of how drug resistance is spreading. That seems like incredibly valuable information. How did the researchers use the microbiome GPS for this?
They combined the location data from the metasub samples with data on which samples contained AMR genes. This allowed them to create maps showing how these drug-resistant bacteria were moving around the globe.
That's amazing. Did they find any surprises when they looked at these AMR maps?
Actually, yes. They found that the number of tourists visiting a city didn't strongly correlate with the presence of foreign AMR genes.
So tourists aren't necessarily bringing in tons of drug-resistant bacteria. That's surprising. What does that point to?
It suggests that other transmission routes are at play, like trade or the movement of animals.
Yeah.
It's like a microbial mystery. And this microbiome GPS is, well, it's giving us the clues to solve it.
This is all so fascinating. We started by talking about how diverse our microbiomes are depending on location, and now we're uncovering microbial migration patterns and even tracking the spread of antibiotic resistance. It's mind-blowing.
It really highlights how interconnected our world is, even at the microscopic level. We leave our microbial mark wherever we go, and in turn, we're constantly picking up new passengers along the way.
And with tools like this microbiome GPS, we're finally able to see these hidden journeys.
Right.
It's incredible. We'll be right back after a short break. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Science Exposed, and be sure to check the show notes for more information on this fascinating topic.
It really is remarkable how much information is hidden within our microbiome, just waiting to be unlocked.
I know. It's like we've been carrying around this incredible data storage device all along.
Yeah.
And we're just now figuring out how to read it. But thinking practically, where could this microbiome GPS technology, where could it actually be applied?
The potential applications are, they're vast. Imagine, for instance, you're a detective investigating a crime. Instead of relying solely on, traditional evidence like fingerprints or DNA, you could analyze a suspect's microbiome to see if it matches the microbial signature of the crime scene.
So we're not just talking about, placing someone at a location, but potentially linking them to a specific object or even another person.
Exactly.
That could be a game changer for forensics.
Absolutely. And beyond criminal investigations, think about the implications for public health. We could use this technology to track the spread of infectious diseases in real time.
Whoa.
Identify outbreaks sooner and even predict where they might emerge next.
It's almost like having a microbial early warning system.
Right.
It could be incredibly valuable, especially, in our increasingly interconnected world.
Exactly. And as we learn more about how environmental factors influence the spread of diseases, well, this microbiome GPS could become even more powerful. We could use it to study how things like, climate change or urbanization are impacting the movement of pathogens.
It's fascinating to think about how much we can learn from these tiny organisms. But with a tool this powerful, we also need to be mindful of the ethical implications, right?
You're absolutely right. As with any new technology, especially one that deals with personal biological data, we need to be incredibly careful. It's crucial to establish clear guidelines for how this microbiome data is collected, stored, and used to ensure people's privacy is, it's protected.
It's like the conversations we're having around, genetic data and privacy. We need to be proactive about addressing these ethical challenges before they become widespread problems.
I completely agree. Striking the right balance between, utilizing the incredible potential of this technology while safeguarding individual rights and privacy, it'll be crucial. as this field continues to evolve.
This whole conversation it's been incredibly eye-opening. We've gone from thinking about the microbiome as just like germs to recognizing it as this powerful tool for understanding, our world, our health, and even ourselves.
It's a testament to the fact that there's always more to discover, even in the, seemingly invisible realms of science.
Well, a huge thank you to Dr. Cameron Jones for curating this incredible deep dive into the world of the microbiome. And to you, our listeners, thank you for joining us on Science Exposed.
It's been a pleasure.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the show. And be sure to check out the show notes for more information on the research we discussed today. Until next time, keep exploring. It really makes you wonder, what other secrets are hidden within our microbiome just waiting to be discovered.
It's true. We've only just begun to scratch the surface of understanding this complex ecosystem and its, impact on our lives.
I know, right? It's like we're exploring a whole new frontier.
Yeah.
And with tools like this microbiome GPS, well, we're starting to see the microbiome not just as a collection of microbes, but as this dynamic map,
Yeah.
a reflection of our journeys and, interactions with the world around us.
And a powerful lens for understanding our health, our behaviors, our environment.
Yeah.
It's really quite remarkable.
Speaking of health, I've heard that there's growing interest in using the microbiome for personalized medicine. Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Absolutely. You see, our microbiome, it plays a crucial role in many aspects of our health, from digestion to immunity to even our mental well-being. And just like our genes, the composition of our microbiome, well, it can vary greatly from person to person.
So that means like what works for one person might not work for another, even when it comes to things like diet or medication.
Exactly. And that's where personalized medicine comes in. The idea is to use information about an individual's unique microbiome to tailor treatments and interventions to their specific needs.
So, for example, if someone has a certain type of bacteria in their gut that's associated with a particular health condition,
Yeah.
you could potentially develop a targeted therapy to address that imbalance.
Precisely. And this is just one example. The possibilities for using the microbiome to personalize healthcare are, they're truly vast.
It's incredibly exciting to think about the potential of this field. It feels like we're on the cusp of a revolution in how we understand and manage our health.
I couldn't agree more. And I have a feeling we're just getting started. There are so many mysteries yet to be unlocked and so much potential to improve human health and well-being through a deeper understanding of our microbiome.
Well, on that note, a huge thank you to Dr. Cameron Jones for bringing us this fascinating topic, and to you, our listeners. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the incredible world of the microbiome.
It's been a pleasure sharing these insights with you.
If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Science Exposed for more mind-blowing explorations of the scientific world. And be sure to check the show notes for links to the research we discussed today. Till next time, keep exploring and stay curious.